Van Gerwen started coming back at Luke Humphries. I thought, is he going to do it again? Is he going to have that kind of Houdini routine that he had against Luke Littler? But no, not to be, and it is the world number one that makes it through to the final. But yeah, very cool, very calm, living up to his cool hand name.
Well, my team Birmingham City were cool tonight as well. They've just beaten Stevenage by 1-0 with one of their games in hand. Alex Cochrane with his first goal for the club, so that's 102 points for Birmingham City. They are Centurions, and there are still games left to try and break the EFL points record. That was the only game in League 2 tonight, one of Birmingham's games in hand. And lots of EFL action over the weekend, not least on Saturday afternoon. We've got Stoke against Sheffield United tomorrow night here on talkSPORT 2. Stoke not clear of the drop zone just yet under Mark Robbins. Sheffield United now resigned to the playoffs. And then Saturday, lunchtime, 12:30 here on talkSPORT 2. Join me and Alvin Martin. We'll be at Kenilworth Road for Luton Town, who can get out of the bottom three if they beat Coventry City. And in doing so, put pressure on Coventry, trying to hold on to sixth place, one of those playoff spots in the Championship. It will not be a listen for those of a nervous disposition. You don't have to be a supporter of Luton or Coventry to get nervous about a game like that. If you're a fan of Hull, Derby, Plymouth, Stoke, Middlesbrough, Millwall, even West Brom, you'll be going through it. But we'll lead you through it on your home of the EFL, talkSPORT 2. But we are also your home of darts on the radio. And Gerwyn Price, having dispatched his opponent Chris Dobey by 6 legs to 2 in the quarterfinals, is on his way to the stage to take on a man he leads narrowly in the head-to-head stats in their PDC time together. It is Gerwyn Price 14, Rob Cross 13, but no look yet for Gezi in the Premier League against Voltage this year, Laura Turner.
No, absolutely, and the one that stands out to me, it was that one in Cardiff where hearts were truly broken. It was a game that Rob Cross dominated, and then we saw this massive comeback from Gezi, and then there was a 170 left for Cross at the end, and a leg that we thought was going the way of Price, and he pinned the big fish and sent the Iceman home.
Oh, he pulled the rug from under Gerwyn's feet without question that night at the Cardiff Arena. And hands in pockets, Rob Cross looks very nonchalant at the end of his walkway. A sign a shirt as he starts to make his way towards the stage. The former world champion who's taking selfies with a few fans on his way to the stage. I'm sure his manager Rab will be here, who's one of those managers who more than anybody else in the game throws every dart, it seems, just as well as that. There he is, just shaking hands with Robert. He throws every dart for his man, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, very animated. And I will say, Rob Cross, we ended up on the same flight, Rab and Rob Cross, last week to Rotterdam. Very much a gentleman, carried my suitcase for me.
Did he now? Well, I shouldn't be surprised, because he's a non-stop talker. You weren't sat next to him on the flight, were you?
I wasn't. I had a nap. I was okay.
Because there's one thing that Rob Cross does. He likes a natter. So if you're next to him on a flight, you'll do well to get the nap that Laura got in her seat. He's a great conversationalist, this Rob. And very much unaffected by all the success that's come his way. And maybe he's benefiting now. Now he's settled into life in Lincolnshire, because I can imagine the first few months of moving lock, stock and barrel from the south coast all the way up to, Lincolnshire and the northeast coast, effectively. It's quite a wrench for him and his family, but I think the way his form's going, I know he's had, a few tournaments he's stepped back from because he's not felt in the best of frames of mind, but there are signs from Rob Cross, aren't there, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good signs.
Very good signs indeed. And I just think the way that he's played and conducted himself, I think you mentioned in his previous match, those tons, was it 110 and 111 average, right up there in the top 10 of the averages we've seen at the Premier League this year. And Rob Cross for me is just one of those players. I've always described him as having probably the best debut year of any player that I can remember, because he picked up the world title. Yeah, no one I don't think has really done as well as Rob Cross. but that weight of expectation, I don't know if it's that, but he's never quite kind of won as many tournaments as I think Rob Cross deserves to have won for different reasons. I think he's a bit of an underachiever. He's world champion, but I've always expected more titles to come from Rob.
Well, our first world championship that we covered for darts on the radio was that one where Rob Cross saw off the power and got himself that debut world title. And as so often happens when a player wins a debut world title, that following year is such a whirlwind. I think Michael Smith probably experienced that as well after he won at Ali Pali, that it's just a little bit much. No matter how well prepared you are for it. I mean, Luke Littler had a sensational few months after getting to the final at the World Championship. Having won it, I mean, he's still picking up titles here and there, but for Rob Cross there was a real drop-off, I think, in that 18 months, 2 years after he won at Ali Pali. But he's underway. Rob Cross has the darts in this semi-final, but Gerwyn Price is already half a dart ahead after 6. And George Noble again, your referee, calling out the scores on the stage, and Price has a lead of about 100 early on.
And this to me just feels like another one of those matches, a bit like Price and Dobey, where it can really start to affect the shape of the table. You've got Price on 17 points, sat in 3rd place. You've got Cross on 14. Win here from Cross, and actually he's got the potential to get himself in the top 4, or Price can kind of start stretching those points and feeling slightly more comfortable.
Yeah. 3 players on 17 points as things stand. 2 of them up there slugging it out. Cross, Price, MVG, Aspinall. It's just madness at the top of the table. Now Gerwyn Price for a break and throw. Wants double 10 and hits just inside. So Rob Cross can save himself here on throw. It's a big old checkout. 2 treble visit, 154 required. And can't pick off the first treble 19 to start the combo.
Now does try and set something up, but it's Price back for double 5, and double 5 is pinned first start, no problem, but no raw.
No raw yet. He does occasionally put the yelp in. He certainly had a couple of yelps in the quarter-final against Dobey. A couple of ton-plus checkouts. And he doesn't need a microphone or any microphones on the stage to pick that up.
To be fair, I didn't have earphones on and I still heard it through yours and Scott's. So.
He is not backward in coming forward when it comes to celebrations, although he mutes them a little bit more than he used to. I can think of games against Gary Anderson where he took it a little bit too far. I forget whether it was at a Grand Prix or
the Grand Slam.
The Grand Slam, yeah.
It was something, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember.
It got a bit, well, not quite rough and tumble, but it was certainly more than rubbing shoulders, I would say, between the two of them.
57.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit to do with the changing kind of standard. I mean, there was a time where going for double-double would have caused immense offence to players, and I think it's probably just a bit of a change at the times as well, and now players are just used to it and expect it. But the only thing I will say is if you're on the back end of one of those Raws, you know that they've done something good and you're behind.
Yeah, it's true.
It hurts, that's what it is.
Yeah. So Price has the first leg against the darts, and he's going to get down to a finish early doors here in leg number 2 in a race to 6. Going to leave himself with 50 after 9 darts. Rob Cross practically back in West Sussex on 309 less these, and he's not going to get down to a finish, and it's a fairly inauspicious start from Voltage. 10 for tops for Price for 2-zip. He's just underneath, so he's back down to the 10s for the outer ring. Almost bust his score and pinned double 15.
Yeah, that first dart in the 10 just had a bit of an awkward lie there for Price, and he just tried to get round it, but he knows he'll be back. But a little bit of pressure from Rob Cross. 137 leaves him 118 if Price can't find double 10.
Needed that because he's barely averaging 80 at the moment, Rob Cross. Double 10 for Price. Pins it with the second dart, no yelp. He's 2-0 up, having held throw, broke throw in the first leg, and Price is averaging 105 in these early exchanges of this semi-final for the right to meet Luke Humphries in tonight's final on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel.
Yeah, you feel Price seems to starting where he left off in that victory over Dobey, where he averaged 106, and he's in and around that mark at the moment. But for Rob Cross, he's nowhere near the level that we saw take him over the line 6-1 against Bunting. Hasn't had a chance at the outer ring as yet.
Well, he may get going soon enough, much like Littler did, or seemed to do, against Van Gerwen, going 4-0 up, and then Van Gerwen found 6 unanswered legs to go through in that quarter-final tonight. Cross trying to come down from 3-4-1. It's a big visit, hitting treble 18, but he's not down to a finish. Price has got a chance to break the throw again here, and he's down to a finish with a couple of lovely treble 19s picked off there from the Iceman. Now he's not going to Austria, nor is Cross. It's Dobey, Bunting and Aspinall of the 8 Premier League stars that are heading out to Graz tomorrow for the Austrian Darts Open on the European Tour. Price wants double 5 and just half an inch or so inside. So Cross has got a chance to hold here, Laura. 70 is the outshot.
Yeah, 70 required. He just takes his time, Rob Cross. Single 18 found, 52 left. Options here. Ups for a single 20, for double 16. For a holder throw and a leg on the board. And double 16 is found for a 70 checkout. And that hopefully will be the settler for Rob Cross, because we haven't seen the best of him yet.
He's upped his average by 10 points, though. That's much better from Voltage to get something on the board. But now he's got to find a break of throw at some point. 2-1 the score to Price. And Gerwyn has the darts in leg 4 in a race to 6. But Cross looking to fill it up with his first max, but the third dart is wayward and smacks into small 5.
And I wonder how much it plays on Rob Cross's mind. He's the only player in the field not to have actually made it through to a final. Is there something that now we're in week 12 that's just starting to be a bit annoying, because it's not through a lack of playing well particularly?
No, as we mentioned, his average, his running average, second only to Littler of the 8 players. Although his average at the moment is way below that. It's just touching 90 at the moment. Gezi again, he's dropped his third dart like he did in the quarter-final, but he's allowed to pick it up and throw it. I don't know how often you've ever seen a foul dart thrown. It doesn't happen once in a blue moon, right?
Yeah, I think I've probably seen more of a kind of almost like a foot foul, where the foot goes across the line whilst they're trying to throw, as opposed to kind of a foul throw.
It's my bête noire, that is. Moving on dart 3. Talk to Nico and Mace about it all the time. Players like Gilding, who stay there and will not move until that third dart has struck the board. Fine with that. The amount of dart players that are practically walking on dart 3. How they can expect consistency. Who's the dart player that used to carry 4 darts in his hand so that he would actually have 1 dart left? I can't remember who it was now.
I can't remember, but I know exactly what you mean. And wow, a 110 finish there for Gerwyn Price. He move into a 3-1 lead.
He's still not yelping. He almost looked quite surprised at hitting tops there. But he's 3-1 up. Oh, great visit from Cross to start leg 5. 177 you heard called by George Noble. Price responding with a 1-2-1, but Rob's on a 9 here. No, he's not.
We have seen a 9 from him in a match that I think it was in Brighton, wasn't it? Where
yes.
Match he went on to lose.
Well, it was the curse of the 9 darter in the early weeks of the Premier League. Hit 1, go out. 100. Steady ton from Price, although the third dart deflected wickedly. Dart was almost upright as it sat in small 20. So he's 280, Cross 224, but a trebleless visit puts pressure on the Cross throw here.
Yeah, that second one in the 1 just proving really expensive, because he didn't leave himself on a finish.
99.
But nor has Price. Cross is on 184, playing Price on 181.
Nip and tuck. Cross going for the 18s. Oh, single 18 and single 5. Can't believe what he's hitting. He's just shaking his head as he steps back from the oche. Pins a treble 19 to rescue the visit. 104 left. Price from 181. Lovely first dart. Follows it up with a second. Down for treble 9 or treble 7. 127 scored. Well, This has got to go, I think, Laura.
I do agree. 104, first one in 12. Not disastrous. 92 left. It's gone in the treble 4. Treble 20 found. So Rob Cross just rubbing his leg, taking his time. Double 16 and it goes wide.
Couldn't rescue it. 54 for Price. 14 for Tops is his chosen route. Tops, 2 darts in hand, only needs 1. He's 4-1 up. He's broken the cross throw again. It's processional so far from Gerwyn Price, and Rob Cross cannot recapture the form he showed in the quarterfinals so far in this semi.
No, absolutely not, but it's been consistent from Gerwyn Price around the 106, and I just wonder how much of this performance we're seeing from Gerwyn Price is a bit of a reaction to everything that's happened and been said since Rotterdam, because he did promise he'd be back this week. He was really disappointed about the way things were with regards to how he described the breeze, but again his performance as well.
He was the most visibly irritated by conditions last week in Rotterdam, Gerwyn Price. And he lost to Josh Rock in the round of 16 in the German Darts Grand Prix, having seen off Barney in the first round that he entered. So it's 4-1 in a race to 6. Gerwyn Price firmly in control of this semi-final, and he's down to 87 after 9 darts. Cross again, way back, 3-6-1, and he's come up with another treble as visit. This is so easy for Gerwyn Price. Treble 17 for double 18 for an 11 dart break, and he's dropped his dart again.
It's almost guaranteed to go in now, isn't it? And
as if by magic, the double 18 appears, and Gerwyn Price is one away from an absolute shellacking of Rob Cross, who can do nothing, it seems, but look on in awe at the Welshman.
99.
If he carries on his form like this, and Johnny Clayton continues to play well, the Welsh could be a real difficult opponent at the World Cup of Darts in a couple of months' time in Frankfurt. Everyone's looking at Littler and Humphries as obviously the world number 1 and number 2 is a really tough nut to crack. I wouldn't bet against the Ferret and the Iceman.
Well, absolutely, and they've got something that the English duo haven't got, and that's experience of playing pairs together as well, which, you know, they've won the World Cup. They obviously play very well together, and they know what to expect when they're there. That could count for a lot as well.
So happy that it's purely pairs now in the World Cup of Darts. It's a drum I know Nico's been banging for many years about the fact that there were too many singles games and he needed to be all pairs to make it a truly unique event. That's what we've got now with the World Cup of Darts, which takes place in mid-June in Germany this year. So 5-1 to Price, and he's 2 points ahead, 206 to Cross's 208. Cross going for the 18s from 208. He's found 4 of them so far, and a treble 20. That's a much better visit. Could get a double here, Rob Cross, if he's not careful.
There's the one thing that you will expect from Rob Cross, and that is not to capitulate. He will keep going. He's only had 2 darts at the outer ring so far, converted 1 of them, but he should get at least 1 from here, maybe 2 if he can find the treble. It's a single 20, down for 16, so a dart at Tops.
Always steadies himself before the dart at the double, and that's why, because he pins it and puts some respectability on the scoreline. 5-2, but Gerwyn Price has the darts in leg 8 for a chance to serve it out and get to the final to face Luke Humphries in a short while on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel.
Yeah, for me, Gerwyn Price just absolutely full of focus up there on the stage. He's very determined to solidify his place in the top 4.
And if you want to check out the Austrian Darts Open in Graz this weekend, I can highly recommend the PDC's own streaming service that you can sign up for, and for a very nominal fee you get access to all the action on the European tour.
58.
And you'll hear some of our colleagues out there. I think Chris Mason's out there commentating this weekend for PDC TV. Really good, because it also brings you all the floor tournaments in places like Leicester, Milton Keynes and Wigan, amongst others. So 5-2 Price.
95.
Cross against the darts he's got to break, otherwise it's all over Red Rover, Laura.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's 217 for Price, 290 for Cross, and now it's 117 for Price when he returns to the Oki for the match. He's just been far too dominant for Rob Cross. Rob Cross just hasn't been able to just recapture what we saw from him earlier on tonight.
But as you say, he's not giving up without a fight. Steady ton from Cross, but he's not down to a finish. So he's got 6 darts from here. Gerwyn, 57, would leave tops for the match. Tried a 117 checkout and was just over the top, but a little grin from Gerwyn, knowing he'll be back.
Rob Cross back on 190, single 18, single 20, and trying to search out for a treble, and he can't find it.
Tops again then for Gerwyn Price for the match, and only needed the one, and there's a big old roar from the Iceman to win by 6 legs to 2 in the end against Rob Cross, who just couldn't live with Gerwyn Price's heavy scoring and an average of 105. This should be a very, very good final coming up next. Once Gerwyn Price has had a little time to set himself, Luke Humphries will await. 5 points up for grabs. That was very, very professionally done, Laura Turner.
Very much so, and I was impressed that despite that dominance that Gerwyn Price showed over Rob Cross, that roar didn't come out to the end. He held it all in. It was very business-like up there on the Oki, and the prizes facing the world number 1 in the final. But again, it's another one. If Price can find a way to win, he's really going to put a bit of distance between him and that chasing pack when it comes to points at the end. It's all very interesting as we're getting to the business end of the Premier League.
And once again, Cross doesn't make a final.
Yeah.
So he's got to hang in there. He's still in a position where he can make top 4, but I guess for the remaining weeks, like in Birmingham, I'm trying to think where there's left. There's Birmingham.
I'm going to Aberdeen,
oh,
so
Aberdeen.
I know that's one.
Okay, there you go, that's 2. 2 of the 4 nights that are left. So he's still got a few chances left to get to that final, get a 5-point haul and put himself right back in the mix. It's not over for Rob Cross by any stretch of the imagination. Laura, thank you for being with us, as always. Laura's taking her leave of us, but Scott Mitchell will rejoin me for the final coming up, both on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel presently, when Gerwyn Price will be taking on Luke Humphries for the right to get the 5 points and the £10,000 nightly prize. The Premier League Darts, Week 12 at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool. And when it comes to the Darts Premier League, the last thing you want is an online mishap throwing you off your game. That's when NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro trademark steps up to the Oki. Think of it as your personal referee, keeping dodgy websites, malware and phishing scams from sneaking into your setup. That's phishing with a PH. It even blocks those pesky ads, so you won't get distracted mid-leg. Just go to nordvpn.com/dartsvpn and you'll get 2 years plus 4 months free and a birthday deal too. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Look out for the final stream of the night on the YouTube channel for Price against Humphries, and you can rejoin myself and Scott Mitchell very shortly here on the YouTube channel.